want to comment on dogmatism. Especially now, I think people are getting lured in by this, the seduction of a dream for certainty. Okay. Now that we've got it all clearly defined, everybody's just on the political scene, and even, I guess, within the more popular social scene, this dogmatism, this kind of, I know I'm right. I don't need to think about your perspective. And feeling okay about that. You're so certain that it's okay to not try to see things from someone else's perspective. That's a dangerous kind of dogmatism. That's a kind of dogmatism. I think of that song, I wouldn't want to be like you. Yeah. I just would not want to ever be thought of as dogmatic. However, I've been very dogmatic about things, especially the younger I go back. The younger I am, the more dogmatic I was. And that correlates, it seems to me, with ignorance, lack of exposure to experience, thus less wisdom. The wiser you get, the less you know. Socrates, I'm not going to give a philosophy lesson here, but it's just that anything somebody said 2,500 years ago that is still true today is worth thinking about. And Socrates, it sounds like he was joking when he said, I know nothing. In other words, I don't have answers. It sounds like it was tongue-in-cheek, because nobody seemed to be able to win an argument against him. And yet he would say, look, I know nothing. They went to the oracle, the holy person called the oracle, and they asked, who's the wisest man? And the oracle said, it is Socrates. And so everyone says, man, the oracle says you're the wisest man. And he goes, well, that's interesting, because I don't know anything. And so it sounds like it's a joke. But it's not. He's saying, look, I may have a lot of wisdom, but it would be wrong to say I have answers, that I have certainty. I don't have certainty, he was trying to say. I don't have answers. Read my lips. No answers. And that's still true today. If you get seduced into thinking that you can get a hold of truth and certainty, that's dangerous, because what if part of what you're holding on to so tightly is incorrect? Is like something you would have believed 30 years ago, but you don't anymore. What if you're holding on to something like that? What a tragedy, So this rant is all about the importance of practicing the kind of humility that checks oneself all the time. You just got it all the time. And I'm not that good at it, but if you do it a little bit, I mean, it's just important because all the great writers of philosophy of history, okay, you know, they somewhere in their tomes they'll talk about social upheaval, unrest, and the problems that we encounter in the modern world, you know, and they always seem to go back to the idea of the problem of resentment. That, you know, you've got problems in life, and we want to put them onto something that then we can chase down and beat. But it's a delusion for the most part. Yeah, there's people who commit crimes, and they have to be dealt with. But they're, in the end, they're a small percentage. So you don't want to make policy and you don't want to create a philosophy of life that's based on some aberrant outlier thing. You want to base it on the way reality actually is. Anyway, resentment is a very dangerous, volatile emotion. And if you find yourself really wanting to give it to a certain kind of people, it's not advised. It's a mistake, and it can be in more than one way. It can be your undoing. So, all right. So I guess the upshot of what I'm saying here is that sometimes certainty, which may not be as certain as one thinks it is, sometimes certainty turns into belligerence and arrogance. And when that happens, communication breaks down, and a lot of miscommunication takes place in the vacuum and produces a lot of unhappiness all around. And I just don't think we need to fall into that trap. I think we can say to ourselves, I am very certain, but I could be wrong. Let me think of a way in which I could be wrong. And then in so doing, you're trying to get the perspective of somebody else. Maybe not your worst enemy, although that's the goal, is to try and understand really where they're coming from. But, you know, when I see folks starting to get, visibly angry and as though something is being threatened that should never be threatened. When I see people reaching that kind of fervor, I become pretty suspicious. I just don't. I think something's off somewhere. Maybe it's possible to, hopefully, to avoid that trap. That's all. It ought to be possible, anyway.